Hey guys, John here. I hope you're all doing well. Today is a cool day because today we are building my first ever serious pedal board. And I'm gonna make it huge, I'm gonna make it massive, and I'm gonna make it over the top. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Now this video is sponsored by Palmer, Gravity, and Adam Hall, so massive thanks to them. And also thanks for supplying all the pedal board goods. I'm also getting help from other brands, which I'll mention in a minute, for this massive pedal board project. And by the way, if you want any of this stuff, of course you can use my affiliate links for Thomann and Sweetwater, just as a friendly reminder. And of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Is this a horrible pedal board or is this a great pedal board? I don't know, I just want to have some fun and build something that I can get creative with for, amp reviews or when I'm writing songs. I feel like I want to get more creative and use more effects just to have more fun, and to have them all in one place and to be able to turn the whole board on, plug my guitar in and just go and have fun, So that's the goal here, rather than grabbing effects from the rack anytime I want to use something, All right, so let's start by taking a look at all the gear that I'm going to use. It's a lot. We're going to start with the pedal board itself. This is the Palmer Pedal Bay 80 that they sent me. As you can see, it's on the massive side. It has Velcro on top. It has adjustable feet, and you can put your power supplies under here with some elastic bands that they also supplied. So this should do the job in terms of the size. This is the biggest pedal board that Palmer offers, and I'm very grateful that they sent this to me for this video. Now, this pedal board also came with a huge gig bag, so that is awesome. So if you're a gigging musician and you want to use these pedal boards on stage, this thing has you covered as well. It also came with Velcro and some elastic bands. Velcro for attaching the pedals to the board, and these elastic bands to attach the power supplies to the bottom of the board. And Adam Hall was so gracious to supply me with a bunch of patch cables. I hope this will be enough. If not, I have a bunch of patch cables here from Summer Cable and Klotz as well, so it should be all right. Palmer also sent me their power supplies, 2 of them, actually. So those will supply the power to most of the pedals that we have going on here. These are the PWT12IECs, and they have plenty of outputs. So this should work out really well. I'm going to put those under the board to power all the pedals. So that is nice. Those are all the essentials, basically. I also bought myself one of these, to put everything into, all the power supplies and stuff, and put it under the board as well, so that I only have like one cable to connect to an outlet and to power everything on, basically. So that is that. Now let's get to the very fun, funny stuff. And let's talk about all the pedals that I want to put onto this board, okay? In no particular order. Now, I bought this some years ago. This is a Harley Benton switcher. It's a true bypass effects loop switcher thingy. And I want to use this basically to keep my signal chain as clean as possible. And with this thing, you can switch effects in and out. You can even make presets where you have like various effects on at the same time, etc. There's also an edit mode where you can just choose which of the loops is on at which time. It has 8 loops, so I'm gonna, put all my effects or most of the effects in these loops so that I can switch them in and out of the signal chain. And I believe this is also buffered, so that's a really nice touch. Now for this pedal board, my goal is to put everything in front of the amplifier, so I'm not gonna do effects loop stuff or anything like that. I don't want to make it too complicated. And for most of the effects, I actually prefer putting them in front of the amplifier anyway. So yeah, this is sort of like, let's say the mothership of the pedal board, right? The controller keeps everything clean and decides which effects are on at which time. So that is cool. Now I want to put a wah on there, of course. This is my Crybaby 535Q. It's a really good wah that you can sort of adjust to taste, and you can make it sound very nice, throaty, and aggressive. So that is definitely going on there. I like this pedal a lot. And then one of the coolest items on this list, this limited edition Sweetwater exclusive white Digitech Whammy V that I'm really excited about. You guys know me, I'm a huge Whammy fan, and Sweetwater was kind enough to supply me with this pedal. Thanks so much to Sweetwater. If you want one of these limited editions, you can only get them at Sweetwater, and please, if you want to buy one of those, use my affiliate link below. That will really help out the channel. But yeah, I really like how this looks, and I think it's going to look great on the pedal board. And you know, a Digitech Whammy is essential for me. First, I was deliberating whether or not I should also put a classic Whammy on there, but I'm just going to stick with one Whammy, this Whammy 5, the limited Sweetwater white edition. Like it a lot. I'm also going to put my Digitech Freqout in there for if I need feedback effects. This is such a cool pedal. And then right at the beginning of the chain, I'm going to put this Zuta gate, which is a really good gate. So my guitar is going to go in here and then into the loop switcher because I like this gate so much and it's so easy to use. So that's where the chain will begin, if you will. Now, Digitech and DOD were also kind enough to send me some pedals. This DOD Phaser 201, for example, I'm going to put that on the board because phasers are my most favorite modulation effects. After all, they also sent me this sonic fuzz. I'm not a big fuzz user, but it will be a lot of fun to experiment with this pedal. So thanks to Digitech and DOD for also sending me this. They also sent me this Rubberneck analog delay, which seems very fancy. I'm not, you know, very well versed with delay pedals at all, but it's going to be fun to have one on the board. And this one seems very interesting. So also thanks to DOD for sending this. And then they also sent me the Hammer On, which is like the one sort of Whammy family effect that I didn't have yet. And this is going to be very interesting to get creative with. And massive thanks once again to Digitech for sending me these pedals. Really appreciate it. Now I'm also going to put the Zuta phaser on there just to have two flavors of phaser, and it's nice and compact too, so it should fit in there. Another Digitech one that I've had for years, my Whammy Ricochet, is going to be on there just for some on-the-fly wee pitch shift moments, if you will. And also the Digitech Mosaic. I haven't used this pedal enough. It's basically a 12-string simulator. That's going to be fun to use every now and then as well. So, and then we also have some drive pedals. I'm going to put this KHDK pedal on there, which was sent to me by my friend Stefan from Sound Service. Thanks for that. It's like a little tube screamer with some switches on there. Can make your guitar nice and aggressive and tight. The Ghoul Junior, it's called. Fun pedal. I'm going to put my Pepper's Dirty Tree on there for tightening up the tone. My Lichtlerm Audio, the King in Yellow, my favorite ever boost pedal. Of course, it will have to be on there because it's so good. And then another Zuta, the Triax boost, which is also a very interesting boost. So I'll have different flavors of boost on there, you know. And then the final piece of the puzzle, this Fractal Audio VP4, which they sent to me last year as well. A really great multi-effect unit. And this is going to be there for all the other effects that I might need, you know? It's going to be at the end of the chain, probably for reverb and other interesting effects that I'll have to explore and put some effects on there that I can just punch in and out whenever I want. So this is a very powerful thing. So it's going to be great to have this on the board as well. Okay, I think that covers everything. What I'm going to do now is try to come up with a layout for the pedal board, put all the pedals in place, and then show it to you guys, and yeah, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I did do some research before making this video. I had various iterations of pedal boards, but I think that this is going to be the final thing. I might have to move some things around a little bit in order to make all the cables fit and everything, but this should be what the final pedal board is going to be like. Pretty epic, right? So let me explain the signal chain here. I hope I'm not doing anything stupid, but we'll see. So the guitar is going to go into the gate over here. And from the gate, we're going to go into the loop switcher's input, right? And then we have 8 loops. In the first loop, I want to start with stuff that should really go in the front. So in this case, what I want to do is start with the Freqout and the Mosaic, because those, you know, determine how the guitar itself sounds. Feedback should come from the pickups, right? So that should start at the beginning of the chain, as well as a 12-string effect. Makes sense to have that at the beginning, since that's going to come from the core of the instrument. Then I want to have individual loops for the Hammer On and the Ricochet. Then we're going to do the Whammy 5 in the next loop. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 loops occupied already. Then I'm going to do 1 loop for the wah. Then I'm going to do a loop for these 2 phaser pedals together in 1 loop. And I can just switch them either on or off if I want. Then I'm going to do an entire loop for the drive pedals. That should work out fine, I think. I hope the fuzz will play nice, because I've heard that fuzz pedals can sometimes have an effect on the signal chain. Of course, it's going to be buffered, so I'm assuming that it will work out just fine. And then for the final loop, I'm going to have the VP4 and the Rubberneck analog delay in there. So that's 8 loops occupied. So yeah, pretty epic board, right? Wow, this is going to be fun. So I think the next step would be to put velcro under all the pedals. I have velcro under maybe 1 or 2 of these. So this is going to be a little bit of a job, but let's go ahead and get started with that. Okay, so I have everything velcroed up. Everything is secured pretty nicely. Some things that I ran into were that I had to remove some of the rubber feet for this wah, for example. I kept the ones on the top here under there because they're sort of going into the hole here. But the bottom ones I had to take off, otherwise I couldn't get it velcroed up. And that made the bottom of the pedal go loose, so I had to tape it up a little bit, but that's not a big deal. I guess that's, you know, part of this pedal board thing. I also took off the rubber feet of the Whammy, otherwise it wouldn't stick. I also had to take off the rubber feet on top here of the VP4, but it's really tightly secured right now. Anyway, so I guess the next step would be to put the power supplies under the board and then hook everything up. First the power and then the cables, I guess. This should be very interesting. All right, so I've flipped the board over graciously. I'm at a point now where I'm not really sure what to do. I'm not really sure how to position these power supplies and how to attach them. So I need to figure that out, and I might have to raise these feet a little bit more to accommodate everything. I'll let you know how it goes in a minute. Okay, so I've come up with 2 possible solutions. I did raise the feet a little bit to make some room. The blocks, yeah, like how I have the board set up right now, they don't fit in between these bars. I don't know if you can see this, but they'd either have to go in angled like this, which wouldn't be ideal because there wouldn't be a lot of room to put Velcro. So I don't know how securely they'll be, you know, attached under there. But what I could do is widen these bars over here to make a little bit of room so that these fit in between the bars, right? So in between these two. I didn't really know or realize up front that that was kind of how this was done. And it might take some reorganizing of the board to get that done properly, but I'm just going to try. And if that doesn't work out, I'm going to have to try them angled like this. Wish me luck. Okay, so I just asked Richard from Palmer and Adam Hall, and he was like, you have to move these bars in order to make room. So now these fit in here snug, nice and snug. I'm going to Velcro these to the bottom of the board. So there's a little bit more room in here now. I'm going to have to turn the board around after I attach the power supplies to see if everything is still Velcroed up correctly. In order to accomplish that, I did have to take off all the rubber feet off the VP4, which was a little bit scary, but it seems to be, there's no rattling or anything inside. So yeah, that's what's next, basically. Attach the power supplies and then turn the board around again and see if everything still fits Velcro-wise. What an adventure, people. All right, so they're nicely secured. I did this one with Velcro and this one with the supplied rubber bands. So it should be pretty solid. I might have to fine-tune everything a little bit, but that will be okay, at least for now. And otherwise, worst case, I can Velcro this up as well. Cool. Okay, so once again, everything is secured to the board. I'm quite happy with this. So I guess the next step would either be to wire up all the power cabling or to wire up all the audio cables. So between all the pedals and stuff. I'll figure out what to do next. I need to take a little bit of a coffee break first. And then I guess I'm gonna have to flip the board over again and figure out the power wiring of everything. I might attach this or another wall wart. I guess that's how you call them, right? The side of the board here, or the back, so that I always have everything connected. That seems like a good idea. I'll have to figure that out as well. All right, so this is power cable spaghetti. We have shorter cables as well as longer cables. So I guess now it's just time to hook everything up to the power supplies. And if there's a bunch of loose wire under the board, what I can do is use these thingies to tie them together and stuff. I also have some tie wraps, so that should work out pretty well. Let me see how this goes. Okay, so the power is hooked up for everything. Everything seems to be working. I guess once I plug it in, I'll figure out if everything is actually working. But I think I got all the power draws correctly for each pedal. I hope, at least. So this should be interesting. I'm glad to see, you know, some activity here. So yeah, this is cool. I guess the next step is going to be wiring everything up, and to be very honest, I'm not looking forward to that. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes as well. Wish me luck. Okay, we're on day 2 of this epic project. Yesterday, I built the whole thing, hooked everything up in terms of power. Everything is secure to the board with Velcro. So, as I mentioned, the next step is to wire everything up in terms of the audio cables. I've already done some of the shorter cables between these pedals over here. And I've also attached the wall wart thingy to the side of the board with Velcro as well, so that everything is kind of secure. And I got a bunch of cables here. I've got 60 centimeter cables, 45 centimeter cables, and I think these are 30, and then a bunch of shorter ones as well. So yeah, it's time to hook everything up. And then after that, I guess, secure everything under the board with tie wraps and stuff. And then start testing this beast. Or maybe I should test it before attaching everything under the board, of course. But yeah, this is fun, and I'm having a great time. See you soon. Okay, everything is wired up in terms of the audio cables. I made a slight revision in the signal chain. Let me explain. So again, the guitar is going to go in here in the noise gate. And then from here, we're going to the input of the switcher. And then in the first loop, we have Freqout and Mosaic by Digitech. In the second loop, we've got the Whammy Ricochet. In the third loop, we have the Hammer On. In the fourth loop, we've got the whammy pedal. In the fifth loop, we have the wah. And then in the sixth, the sixth loop, I have the two phasers and then the rubberneck analog delay, because I wanted that in a separate loop, you know, in comparison to the VP4. First, I was going to put it in the same loop as the VP4, but I figured maybe it's better to have it with the phasers. Then the seventh loop is all these drive or boost pedals. I'm not going to use them simultaneously anyway. And the final loop, so loop number 8, has the VP4. So yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. The next step is to see if it's all working. Wish me luck. Hey guys, good news. The board is done. And here it is in all its glory. So I wired everything up in terms of the audio cabling. I put all the cables under the board and put some tie wraps under there just to make it a little bit more neat and tidy. And yeah, it's all done and I'm super happy with it. Everything seems to be working. So we're going to have some fun and just try these pedals, and I'm going to explain a couple things behind my thought process. I do realize that this is probably a unique pedal board. But, it's made for me to get creative and to have fun. And these are some effects that inspire me. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. All right, so first about the signal chain, I'm holding my Kiesel Kyber, the 6-string Kyber, which I love. That is going into the Zuta, the gate, which is a really good gate. When the light is red, it's closed. And when I start playing, you can see that it turns green. You can make it really tight and it just keeps the signal clean, So any noise coming from the pickups, etc., that's going to be muted by the gate. That is cool. So yeah, it's basically my favorite gate. It's tiny, works really well, and sounds really good. Of course, I can always turn it off as well. It's not a super noisy setup by any means, but it's good to have that there. From there on, we're going into the input of the switcher over here. And then from there on, the output is going into my orange dual terror. I have the fat channel set to a high gain tone right now and the tiny terror channel to a very sparkly clean tone. The amp is going into my ISO cap, my Grossmann Fatbox loaded up with my Celestion Vintage 30. 3 mics as per usual, sent into the DAW, etc. And again, this is the Harley Benton FXL Pro, which was pretty affordable. And it allows me to switch all these effects in and out. So my guitar isn't going through all these pedals. So it's not coloring the chain. I can enable them whenever I need them, if you know what I mean. So we have 8 effects loops over here. True bypass loops. I think they're buffered as well. So, it really preserves the signal integrity, maybe even sparkles it up a little bit. I'm not sure about that. I don't really care about those minute tonal differences that you might get with a buffer. To me, it sounds good, So again, 8 loops. And one drawback of this pedal is that you sort of have to program presets. So, this is preset A on bank 1, preset B. And as you go through the presets, you can sort of store which effects you want on and off, right? Which is not really what I want, because I don't need to play live shows for my videos. I just need to be able to access any effect at any time, whenever I want, however I want. So there's sort of a workaround. You can go into the edit mode. This says edit high and edit low. Low is the first 4, and then high is the second part. So loop 1 and loop 2, as they call it. You can also use this thing before your amp and then in the loop as well. So you could use this part for your effects loop and this in front of the amp. I'm not doing that. Every single pedal is going in front of the amp, which is my preferred way of using effects like this anyway. And if I happen to need, you know, some sort of delay in the effects loop or whatever, I can just grab another pedal and put it in a loop. I hardly ever do that anyway. I prefer, you know, changing sounds from the source, basically. So in this edit mode, I can now turn any effect on and off. And we're now on the edit low, so I can turn these 4 loops on and off. So the first 4 loops. And let's see what's in the very first loop. Turn that on. The change starts with the Digitech Freqout, which I have over here. And that's going to help me emulate feedback. Let me show you guys. That's a great pedal. I don't have a cab in the room. I have a cab in the room, but I'm going through my ISO cab, so getting feedback is kind of impossible with my setup. This pedal really helps with that, you know, for ending chords or whenever you want that swell. Really nice pedal. All right, and then the second pedal, which is in the same chain, is the Mosaic, which is a 12-string emulator. So I'm going to switch to the Tiny Terror channel, so the clean channel, and let's see how that sounds. So that does a really nice job at emulating a 12-string guitar. So that is the first loop. Now let's go to the second loop, and let me switch back to the Fats channel. So the second loop has the Whammy Ricochet, which is a really cool whammy. So that's for those quick intermittent pitch shifts up with the same fast or slow timing depending on how I set it. So right now it's just basically there for accents and stuff. That's like a really fun creative pedal, right? So that's the second loop. In loop 3, thanks to Digitech, of course, we've got the new Hammer On pedal. I still need to figure this pedal out, okay? So it's kind of new to me still, but this is a really cool creative pedal. Let's see what happens when we press one of these switches. That's kind of cool. Let's see what happens when we press the second. Yeah, so that's a really fun pedal. I need to study it more because there's like an arpeggiator in there, and the impossible mode sounds like a lot of fun as well. So I need to dive into the manual and program some sounds in there that get the juices going, so to speak. But that's a really cool pedal. Thanks again to Digitech for sending that over. All right, so that is the third loop. Now let's turn that off and go to the fourth loop. And in the fourth loop, we have my, limited edition Sweetwater white Digitech Whammy V. Right now it's set to the typical 1 octave up mode. Let's try the 1 octave up, 1 octave down. Very cool. I actually really like how it looks in this white color, this sort of off-white. Of course, I can set it to the chords mode as well. You know, it's the greatest whammy of all time, basically. And it does all the good stuff. So that's in there. Very cool. So that's loop 4. Right, now let's go to the EH, which is these 4 loops. And in the first loop, I've got my wah, my Crybaby, what's it, 535Q. Yeah, so that's a really great wah that you can really tweak. And I just love how aggressive and throaty it is. That's awesome. All right. In the next loop, I've got this Zuta phaser, the DOD Phaser 201, and this Rubberneck analog delay. Let's start with the Zuta phaser. That's a really cool phaser. I like it a lot. You can, you know, change the stages as well, etc. Then let's try the DOD Phaser 201. That's a little bit more, let's say, univibey. Let's go to the Tiny Terror channel. Yeah, that definitely reminds me of a univibe. So it's a little bit more subtle, if you will, but I like it. Really cool. And then we've got the Rubberneck analog delay over here. I'm not a big delay user, so I have to sort of get used to how this pedal works. It's, of course, very analog sounding. I think I can brighten it up a little bit with this tone control. Yeah, let's add a bit more tone. Got some modulation in there as well, so that's really nice. Good for moody stuff, you know what I mean? So that is that loop. Now for the next loop, I have all the boost pedals. Let's turn that one on and let's go back to the high gain channel, the fat channel first. So let's say we want to make this tone more modern and tight, right? First up, we've got the Triax by Zuta as well. So that works really well for tightening up the tone. You've got various shades of that. There's a gate in here as well, so it keeps the signal very clean. Again, the Zuta stuff is really nice. And of course, thanks to Busking Zuta for sending me the Zuta stuff. All right, up next, we have the KHDK Ghoul Screamer Jr. It's kind of like a Tube Screamer-ish. The settings are pretty aggressive because the last time I used this, I used it for, I think, an extended range guitar. So that's in there. We've got the Pepper's Dirty Treat. Which of course is based on the TC Electronic Integrated Pre, right? Also a different shade of boost. Next up, we've got the Chthonic Fuzz by DOD as well, also sent to me by those guys. Let's try that and let me dial down the gain a little bit. See how that sounds. So that's nice and filthy. Great to have that in there as well. Let's turn the gain back up. And then we have my favorite overdrive / boost pedal in here. The Lichtlerm Audio, the King in yellow, which is like a super hyped up modded tube screamer. You can really tweak the response on this one to make it sound as tight as you want. So yeah, that's really nice. Those are really useful for extended range guitars, etc. All right, that's great. Now, let's turn this loop off and go to the final loop, in which I have the Fractal Audio VP4, super powerful multi-effect unit with all those, you know, Fractal audio effects from all the other units and stuff. That's going to be very versatile to have in here. And I'm going to program various sounds in there. If I want a tuner, I can press these switches at the same time. Let me turn it on. And then tune the guitar. So that is very handy. Right now I have it set to effects mode and I've got 4 effects programmed in. That's the Fractal Audio flanger. We've got a rotary. And then I also have a sort of hall reverb. Kind of a mild, normal reverb. Add a little bit of room to any sound, any clean tone, mostly. And then I've got a really cool sort of ambient delay. I forgot the name. Yeah, so that is the Cloud Cumulus, or Cumulus. I don't know how to pronounce that. So yeah, needless to say, this is a lot of fun. So that is my pedal board, people. I still need to figure some things out, how to work some of these pedals, but this is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this epic pedal board. I'd love to know in the comments below, of course. If you want to support this channel, get something in my affiliate links for Thomann and Sweetwater, like any of these pedals, or a Palmer pedal bay, for example, or the cables, or the power supplies, etc. Again, massive thanks to Palmer, Gravity, and Adam Hall for sponsoring this video. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Digitech, thanks to Sweetwater, Thanks to all the other people who supplied this gear, Fractal Audio, Zuta, etc. Really appreciate you guys. Of course, you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook and Instagram for more content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Cheers.